Have a listen to this. Have a listen to this.
Interest rates are higher. I know people don't like that, but you should be welcoming the stronger economy.
And maybe a deal has a point about the machinery of capitalism being oiled with the blood of the workers.
The United States is a country that has always paid all of its bills.
Lannister always pays his debts.
Don't let the bastards get you.
Hello and welcome to Comedian versus Economist. My name's Adam and we're once again joined, as always, by my little older brother and real-life economist, Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
G'day, Adam. How are we going?
Good, thank you. Happy birthday, first of all. Happy birthday for yesterday.
Thank you. Yes.
Sorry I didn't get you anything. Except complete liberation. Happy Liberation Day.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's exciting. Massive show coming up. Let's get straight into it. Roy Morgan CEO Michelle Levine described a surge in the labour market underutilisation as calamitous. Others called it simply dreadful, and one commentator going so far as to say it was downright crummy. Retail sales are down again, possibly driven by Coles, where sales are down, and sales of secondhand Teslas are booming. Something must be wrong with them. But first, Thomas, does global recession hinge on the US labour market, the market that Musk is literally taking a chainsaw to? Things are looking grim.
Yes. Yeah, they are. Yeah, well, we had Trump's Liberation Day on April 2nd, US time, where he announced 10% tariffs on every country in the world, with then special tariff rates for the most egregious offenders of selling stuff to the US.
How dare they?
Oh, no.
We'll show them.
Right? Yeah.
So as much as we've talked about tariffs and as much as the tariffs have been in the news, I've got to admit I hadn't really clocked what the sort of percentages were. I know we talked last week or the week before, on average it was going to be 10% or something. But now that I've seen, like, you kind of put it in those words and you go, it's 10% on every country. It doesn't seem that bad.
Yeah.
Why are we all freaking out? Or is it that bad? Is it just one of those things that's worse than I can grasp?
Yeah, I mean, bad. Again, like, tariffs do multiple things. So it depends on what your reference point for bad is. Like, does it increase the cost of stuff by 10%? And if you're worried about inflation, then yes, it's increasing the price of stuff. And that's got to feed through into the US economy. So that's kind of bad. Does it give your domestic manufacturers a leg up? Like, kind of potentially it does. Like, it, makes like a car produced in the US, and it's now got like an extra 10% more pricing power than it did. But it also depends on the imports as well. Like, I was talking about like certain car manufacturers, there's some certain components are coming from Europe, some are coming from Japan, some are coming from Taiwan.
Yeah, right.
So
if you build a car in the US out of all Chinese parts, then you haven't really won.
Yeah, you're probably not better off. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not too bad. And that was the general sort of reaction to it. Like, people thought like this could get crazy. There was talk that baseline tariff rate could be 20%. And that would have probably rattled markets pretty hard. But then also, like, it's 10%, but you get to negotiate your way back down potentially. The White House is open to doing deals.
Right.
To get that down.
The art of the deal.
Yeah.
This is Trump's business acumen coming to the fore.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So Australia's looking at 10%. Interestingly, Trump name-checked Australia in his Rose Garden presentation of Liberation. I don't know why it's called Liberation Day. But, so
why not?
Stupid. Well, yeah, why not?
Why not? I think that's Trump's sort of MO. Like, you got to stop asking why, and you just got to go, why not?
Why not?
Why, why did Trump do something? Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Who's going to stop him?
Yeah. But he name-checked Australia, like listing sort of all the people who were like taking advantage of the US, and he name-checked Australia, saying that Australia exports $3 billion worth of beef to the US every year and accepts none in return. And I was like, it's a bit unfair. Then I looked into why. Australia put a ban on US beef in 2003 in response to mad cow disease and just never lifted it.
Right. I presume they've cleared up the mad cow disease in the US.
Yeah, US scientists have gone to great lengths to point out that there's no mad cow disease in America anymore. But it's just sort of locked in because the Australian farm lobby's we kind of like not having to compete with American beef. So
yeah, I mean, and I get it. Like if we're producing like a ton of beef here, we don't want to be bringing it in, right? Like why would we?
Yeah, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, but then Trump's like, well, if we can't sell to you, why are we letting you sell to us? Yeah, fair enough. It's kind of a reasonable point, and all the reporting in the papers was a bit like because we banned it in 2003. Cough, cough. It's like, looks, yeah, right. It's pretty unfair. It seems like.
Sounds like Trump starting beef with us about beef.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing, I had a few charts here, which was interesting. Just looking at the Bloomberg surveys economists in America, and the consensus forecasts have all gone through the floor in the past month. So growth dropped through the floor, export growth tanked, one of the lowest levels on record, and business investment has also tanked as well. Right. These are the forecasts. So it's a bit dependent on the chaos, and so economists are freaking out. But yeah, investment you think would depend on the economic outlook plus certainty around the business environment. All of that's uncertain, and so forecasts for business investment have also fallen to some of the lowest levels in years.
And are these a reflection of the tariffs specifically, or more just the general chaotic nature that Trump sort of provides?
I think it is the chaos, but it's also unwinding policies that were pro-growth, which maybe you do want to unwind from. So free trade is pro-growth, but has the potential, if it's not balanced and managed, to hollow out your manufacturing sector, which creates chunks of unemployment and a whole bunch of social issues. So maybe you do want to unwind from that kind of growth. Same story with the public sector and what Doge is, on paper trying to do, or what it says it's trying to do, to reprivatize the US economy. So move away from public spending-led economic growth to more private sector led economic growth. But in the short run, that means winding back public sector spending, which is also reduces growth. And so if there's a logic to what's happening in the US, and it is hard to know, it's hard to see through the chaos, but that's the sort of logic. It's we've got to take some short-term pain now as we pivot away from free trade-led growth and public sector-led growth and move more towards domestic economic activity and private sector economic activity. And there's going to be a short-run pain trade with that.
Right.
But the hope is that then sets you up for a stronger future. I'm telling it as Trump's aides would tell the story. I don't know if that's actually what they're intending to do, but that's the logic there.
Right.
And so I think economists are now saying well, that's the logic. Plus there's a chaos element. And so, we're going to start ratcheting back our expectations.
Right.
So
you think a lot of this rests on the employment data? A lot of the negativity?
It will. So after we record and potentially, but in between recording this now and when this pod goes to air next week, we'll get the US employment data on Friday night. And I think Michael Hartnett at Bank of America, he's saying that's the key pivot point. If that comes in soft, then everyone's okay, it's on, recession's happening, we're in trouble. If it comes in strong, then people will relax. So it's going to be a pivotal release.
Is there any clues about the employment data that we could get? Say, if there was a special crack team of enforcers set up to slash and burn government public employees, for example, if something like that happened, would that give us an early read on the potential employment data out of the US?
Possibly. if they were publishing,
is that likely to have to have an impact or make a difference on the employment data, the job cuts through Doge, or is it the job employment data too big for that to?
It's too big. Yeah, it's too big. I mean, you might see it if they cut 350,000 jobs all in 1 month.
Yeah.
You'd notice that for sure.
Yeah.
If it takes place over 18 months, it'd be harder to read in the data, I reckon.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just given everything else that's going on.
Thomas, speaking of jobs, what's going on in the Australian jobs market?
Yeah, so had some interesting data last week or the week before, which potentially suggests that the jobs market is starting to break. So there's sort of been two puzzles, like with the huge barrage of rate hikes that we had, there were two puzzles that came from that. One is that house prices didn't fall much and are now back at record highs. You thought that kind of rate of hikes should have put more downward pressure on house prices. So that was kind of interesting. The other one is the labour market.
I thought they did in Sydney and Melbourne. They're
down, but Sydney's back at record highs now.
Oh, that was quick.
Like it fell 10%.
Yeah,
it fell 10%, but now it's back.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. Melbourne's not, but Sydney is.
Right.
And the national median is onwards and upwards to record highs.
Okay.
So
well done, Eastern States. Well played.
Yeah. Oh no, West Australia's crushing it most of all.
No, right. But, I knew the others were up. I just knew, but the last time we spoke about it, and I probably haven't tuned into it since, was that Sydney and Melbourne house prices were sort of falling and going off the cliff.
Well, yeah. So they fell 10% from 2021 onwards.
Yeah.
Then they came back, and then they were starting to fall again.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But just by a little bit. Like Sydney, it was like they had 2 or 3 months of 0.1% falls, and so kind of almost nothing.
Right.
But it looked like it was maybe rolling over, but then it's like rate cuts happened, and then now we're back up and away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good one.
Yeah, but so the other one was the labour market, is that we had all those rate hikes and the unemployment rate went from 3.5%, which is a 50-year low, up to 4.1%, which is just pretty much a 50-year low. So hasn't really come back. Hasn't lifted as much as we were expecting. And it's sort of something that economists have been watching, and the labour market should be breaking. We're seeing the slowdown in retail sales. We know a lot of businesses are struggling. Insolvency data's up. Why isn't this showing up in the employment data yet?
So when you say breaking, we're talking about not enough jobs, or people losing jobs. Is that what we mean when we say the labour market's breaking? Yeah.
The unemployment rate is rising. That's your key metric.
Okay,
that people can't get jobs, so they want jobs.
Right.
Yeah. And so we've been waiting for the unemployment rate to lift, but it hasn't lifted. But there's maybe now it's starting to look like it is. And what we're looking at is Roy Morgan's measure of unemployment and underemployment.
Yeah.
So Roy Morgan, the survey people, they have their own shadow measure.
Not to be confused with Roy Morgan, the mechanic, who's works out of Wingfield.
You're right. Okay. That's
very good mechanic.
Yeah, right. Oh, shout out to Roy. Okay. So they have an unemployment rate measure. Thanks.
Sorry, I realise sometimes things just shouldn't be said, just for no other reason than not to throw you completely off the track.
Just a bit too late. Yeah. Oops, shouldn't have said that one.
Yeah. Go on, get on with your data.
Okay.
Give the people what they want.
Okay, so Roy Morgan have their own unemployment measure, which is a lot more loose than the ABS one. So the ABS one is very restrictive. You've got to not be working more than 2 hours a week or something, or it's quite tight. To qualify as unemployed, you have to. It's quite restrictive. So if you're working 8 hours, but you're still looking for work, you're not counted as unemployed because you're working some. So the ABS measure is quite tight. Roy Morgan's much more loose. So it always sits above the official one. But interestingly enough, it's jumped in the last couple of months up to sort of the highest level since COVID.
Right.
Yeah, so just in the direction of that, it's quite a sharp. Just the past couple of months, it's really lifted. So just the direction of that is interesting, and that then squares up with our job ads data. So job ads have fallen quite sharply, and Job ads typically move quite closely with the unemployment rate, but they haven't recently. So there's sort of an expectation that the unemployment rate's going to follow where the jobs ad data is leading. Yeah, and then you've got the NAB business survey, like hiring intentions are falling and trending lower. So
Right.
yeah, so I think it's just interesting. It's like, so this measure now maybe is suggesting, that unemployment rate is starting to lift.
Yeah, right. And so we should see that soon in the ABS data, you'd think?
You'd think so, yeah.
Or does the ABS need to fix their data a bit?
No, they need to. All that matters is that you're consistent.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm speaking from an economist perspective. As long as the data is consistent, then you get a read from the movements within it. If the definition changes, then you can't compare the series, so you don't know what's going on.
Right.
So yeah, it's just interesting. Roy Morgan's has spiked recently. I would expect the ABS measure to spike soon. And it typically moves with a lag. It lags GDP by about 6 months. So that's sort of consistent.
And will that be the trigger for the RBA to cut rates then? Like if they see that start going up, they'll be like, oh, okay, we're on. It's on. It's time.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Yeah.
Bring out the rate cut box of utensils. Michelle will say to the team.
Right, yeah.
Off to the stationery cupboard, the rate cut box. Yeah.
No, they'll be getting that one out. Yeah, definitely. Maybe 3 of them actually.
Go time.
Yeah, get 3 of them down. We'll just have them ready, lined up.
Good. Oh, yeah. I don't want to see people losing jobs, but I do want to see rate cuts. So I'm conflicted. I'm torn. All right, let's take a break here, grab a word from this week's sponsor, and be back with more CVE right after this. Welcome back. You're on Comedian versus Economist. You'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at CVE Podcast. Thomas, retail sales data came in. What did we learn from the retail sales data?
Yeah, things continue to soften in the retail sector. We now have 2 months in a row, not massive falls, but definitely trending down after. Yeah.
Do we have to use the word soften? Can we? I feel like these are economic. Can't we just say they?
Yeah, it's true.
They got worse.
Because we don't say harden. The data never hardens up.
Depends how long you leave it out in the sun. Yeah. What's the opposite of comes in? It's starting to soften.
I guess maybe it started to firm up a little. Maybe. You could say that data's starting to firm up. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I'm always open to the language evolves.
Starting to stiffen.
Yeah, pass.
Okay. But it came in soft.
Yeah. Came in soft. Yeah. So that's we know like on a per capita basis, people have been retail spending's been falling for like 8 consecutive quarters. It's been held up by population growth, the aggregate figures, but even now those aggregate figures are starting to roll over. Right. So that's a bit of bad news for consumer-facing businesses. So, just to clarify, this is excluding food and eating out, which tend to be because food makes it a bit more stable because it's just not discretionary. So, yeah, when you exclude food and eating out.
Food and eating out. Well, I feel like eating out is really discretionary. That's about as discretionary as it gets.
That's true. Yeah.
Who knows why they exclude these things? The important thing is that they're consistent.
That's right.
That's what I learned. Yeah, right.
But the other thing I thought was really interesting when looking at this data, here has got one like it's looking at supermarkets, like looking at that food retail trade. Yeah. And it includes liquor. And liquor spiked in 2020 with COVID. Like it lifted like 40% pretty much overnight.
It was a big night, that one. I remember it.
It was big.
Oh, man. Whew. There was some hungover people the day after that spike.
So it spiked. And supermarket spending and other specialized food didn't.
Yeah.
Like it had a bit of a wobbled around a bit, but just has stayed pretty much on the trend it's had since 2015 and earlier. So just that sort of trended upwards.
There's a bit of a spike. There's a spike in the food and other specialty food.
A little bit.
Well,
a little bit.
Well, that was probably the pizzas we ordered on the night, the alcohol spike night. A lot of Uber Eats coming in that night. And that returned really quickly, whereas what you're saying is the liquor never returned.
Liquor never returned. So yeah, like it lifted 40% pretty much overnight, but then has since then flatlined. So people lifted their spending and then just stayed there, which I don't know. I don't understand that. I find it interesting because COVID ended and people just went, yeah, we're just going to keep spending the same amount of money on liquor.
Maybe, I don't know, connected people in some way. Like we had I remember in COVID, there's like people were kind of almost protest. There's some people having like protest parties. And then there was also other people who were like, hey, to hell with immunisation. Why don't we all just find someone we know who's got COVID and we'll have like a let's all get COVID party. And I don't know, maybe it just got people together again, like through some, and everyone was like, yeah, because they started feeling rebellious. They started, a lot of drinking going on and just thought, this is kind of fun. Let's do this more often.
Just stay there. Maybe.
Feels right.
Maybe.
Us all getting together and sharing infections feels right.
Sharing infections and drinks. That's how Aussies connect.
No, you're right though. It is odd because I don't know. Like my anecdotal, I guess, research has been that alcohol consumption's dropping. They talk about alcohol consumption dropping in young people. Young people aren't drinking as much. There's been a huge uplift in non-alcoholic beverages, zero alcohol beers, zero alcohol wines, all that sort of stuff. So there's certainly seems to have been a shift in recent times away from alcohol. You mentioned last time Northern Rivers moved really heavily into weed. For anyone who heard the show last week, some very localized data coming out of that region.
Have you seen any data for Wingfield?
No, not yet. But I'll give Roy a call. He's been surveying some of his customers. But no, that's the vibe I've been getting. And so it is surprising to see this chart that says that liquor sales have spiked and then remained really high. I guess the question is, are we talking about the number of sales or the amount of money that we're spending?
This is the dollar. This is the dollar value. This is the dollar value.
So maybe there's just like a price of liquor thing coming into this then. Like, did the price of liquor go up during COVID or did we get some more taxes or something?
I don't think so. Think so. Not 40%.
No, you'd
I'm pretty
notice that.
sure. You'd notice that. I'm pretty sure. Like, you imagine, okay, we're going into lockdown and 40% sales tax on beer and wine. There'd be blood in the street.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is that Australians, they just wrote it out. They're like, that's fine. I don't care. Charge me whatever you want. Charge whatever you want. I'm not stopping buying alcohol, even at these crazy inflated prices. Food, don't need it. Whatever. I'm fine. Right, Thomas, finally on the show, secondhand sales of Teslas are up.
Yeah.
This data sounds a little dodgy to me.
Oh, do you think? Okay.
Yeah, I do. Well, it just feels a little lacking in any kind of context that would make it useful. Anyway, you read it out and then we'll discuss.
Okay. Oh, I'm thinking like,
Go on, let's hear it.
Yeah. That's it. I'm shy now.
No. We've got to get it out there. You put it on the table. I'm going to...
Okay. Well, yeah, okay. Use Tesla listings.
Yeah.
This is from autotrader.com. So apparently, like, it's car sales equivalent in the US. Yeah, they've jumped 33% this year alone. Lifted. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we're hearing anecdotal evidence of people distancing themselves from Musk. And, yeah, new sales are down too. So, like, they just reported their first quarter sales. They're down 13%.
Yeah.
And there's talk about brand damage. But, yeah, and people saying, like, yeah, I'm distancing themselves from or trying to get away from brand Musk. So you've been hearing that. But this is the first hard data I've seen on that. So, yeah, up 33% this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
enough context for you?
I call it soft data.
Data. What's wrong?
No, well, it's missing I don't know. It's missing, and you probably don't have this information, but like what are normal other secondhand sales doing? Secondhand cars
that's a great question. They're up 20%.
You didn't know that. You just made that up.
I did know that. Yeah.
Well, it's not in the chart you gave me.
It's not. No.
So they're up 20%. But Tesla sales are up 33%.
Yeah.
I just can't believe, I don't believe that people are that attached to a person like Elon Musk or anyone for that matter, that they'd be like, I can't believe he's acting like a dick. Right, that's it. Sell the family car. I'm listing it tonight on Auto Trader because Musk is behaving badly.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't.
I've definitely seen people do it. Aussie Man Reviews sold his Tesla. Sample
triggering
size of 1.
a 33% increase in US secondhand Tesla sales when Aussie Man Reviews, the social media personality in Australia, sold his Tesla.
No, but like he said, like he's uncomfortable with the direction that brand Musk is going, and he just feels uncomfortable driving a Tesla now.
I know, but it's a big leap to take that standpoint and kind of die on that hill and go, right, I'm selling the car. Like, it's a big investment to buy a Tesla. If you bought, and these people obviously bought from new, so they bought into it.
Yeah, probably,
yeah. Like, it's the cars couldn't be more than like 5 years old, right? They haven't been around that long.
Have to be pretty small. Yeah.
So I don't know, and I think too, there's no. We can't assume the reason people are selling their Teslas from this chart. Like, we can't go, it's because they all don't like Musk. Like, maybe the lease ran out. Maybe maybe. Yeah, maybe. Maybe we're just seeing the first of the fleet Teslas coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. CEOs loading up on Teslas to get some green credits, and then
maybe they're upgrading to Cybertrucks. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe not. You can't. No, it's not definitive. You can't say for sure without surveying people. But it's a substantial difference between used car sales nationally, 13% percentage point difference. So that's substantial. And it seems consistent with people being a bit uncomfortable. Some people being a bit uncomfortable owning Teslas. Like in Washington, there's a anti-Elon Tesla owner club.
Oh, right.
And, people buying bumper stickers saying, I bought this before I knew what Elon was about.
Yeah. But if you stopped using the products of every CEO or every owner of a company that wasn't, carrying himself with distinction, then... I don't know.
No, there's a big difference between where Elon Musk has gone and your average CEO. Like, he's chosen to align himself with the hard political right. Yeah. And taken a pretty, very strong stand on that. There's a lot of people who are uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, maybe.
And yeah, I mean, and the other thing for it's interesting for Tesla is, like, Tesla's in its capital raising in the whole phase where it's like building itself. It built itself around Elon Musk and made him the genius. Like, it's the next Steve Jobs, it's that it's a one-man brand. Like, name a single other person who works for Tesla.
Yeah.
Right. So Tesla made it all. Yeah. Shout out to Steve in customer support. But it was the deliberate strategy early on, because it's part of the capital raising, saying we've got this, once in a generation genius. He's taking the company forward, and that creates this hype, which draws in all this investment capital, which boosts the share price.
Yeah.
And so the Tesla brand is very deliberately tied itself to Elon Musk, which works well when everyone thinks he's a visionary genius. But once people start, half the population thinks he's a fascist, then that hurts your brand.
Yeah, no, it's probably like once he dished off the Nazi salute, it was probably some people looked in their garage and thought,
yeah,
I'm not sure I want this car anymore. Yeah, fair enough. I tell you what, if there's a lot of Teslas on the market, there must be a bunch of Nikolas on the market as well. Did you see the Nikola guy, the guy, the EV, the kind of wannabe Tesla.
EV trucks?
EV trucks. Yeah.
Where he's filmed it rolling down a hill.
Yeah.
That guy. Yeah.
Did you see? Because Trump pardoned him. This is
You're kidding.
No. So this guy makes tons of money through fraud, right?
Fraud.
Donates a bunch of it to Trump's re-election campaign, gets arrested and sentenced to jail for fraud, and then Trump pardons him because he donated heaps of money to his election campaign.
God, that is outrageous. Wow. It wasn't even sophisticated fraud, was it? It was just I've pretending I've made a truck and I haven't.
Well, look at it roll. Look how quiet it is.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So there's that. If you've got a Nikola in the garage, you probably don't own a truck.
I don't know. They even sold. They didn't sell a single vehicle, did they?
Nah, probably. I don't know.
I don't think they ever finished. They just couldn't make it work.
Yeah. I don't know. I saw that the other day. I saw the headline that he got pardoned. I'm like, wow, it's amazing. All right, that does it for this week's CVE. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget you can find us on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube at CVE Podcast. I had some issues with the YouTube podcast feed. Fix that now, though. You will need to find us again and resubscribe to that feed if that's where you get the podcast. Other than that, that's all for us for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. And we will talk to you again next time on CVE. Until then, it's bye for now.
Comedian V Economist is a product of Equity Mates Media. All information in this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional finance, legal, or tax advice. The hosts of Comedian V Economist are not financial professionals and are not aware of your personal financial circumstances. Before making any financial decisions, you should read the product disclosure statement and, if necessary, consult a licensed financial professional. Do not take financial advice from a podcast. For more information, head to the disclaimer page on the Equity Mates website where you can find ASIC resources and find a registered financial professional near you. In the spirit of reconciliation, Equity Mates Media and the hosts of Comedian V Economist acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today.